Hello, YouTube fans. Here again. And yep, I still got it. So today I decided to do this one. I've been doing it before. It's to do with favourite films from a certain era, but not just any favourite film. I'm going to do a few on this topic, being favourite films from 1989. And the reason why I say 1989 was because 1989 was a damn good year for films. Damn good year. And I'm going to say, right, there's going to be lots on this one. So there might be a lot of parts to this one. The first one would be you got a license to kill anyone who goes in up in my heart. That being License to Kill, which sometimes I call License to Fill. It was the second outing for James Bond, being Timothy Dalton, and it was quite a good one. This at the time, it got a lot of backlash, even though it made money, even overseas, even though it was a bid it film. It made a lot of money, but it got a lot of backlash. Now, people know what I mean by backlash. It was ultra-firing, unlike the other ones. Yes, the other Bond movies weren't exactly Fairyland. They was actually firing as well. But it was pretty firing for a Bond film. And I remember seeing the theatrical when it first rented it on the golden days of VHS. But it was only when they brought out the DVD we actually got the looks of seeing the American version of License to Kill, where it was a lot more uncut. There's a lot more violent. Then Blu-ray bought the complete and utter uncut version of License to Kill. And I think it's done because it goes. I mean, the villain being Santos, he isn't fancy, he isn't Shakespearean, he isn't rolling it in down to a Shakespearean acting role, like or too fantasy, like the days of Roger Moore. He ain't got metal fucking arms like Doctor No or metal teeth like Dawes. He isn't throwing axe around like fucking Odd Job. He's more taken serious. You could buy into him being a drug dealer, and you could buy into him not being a very nice man. So I felt the Ultrafiance was good. I like the idea of Timothy Dalton this time not going on a mission as Bond, but this time basically going on a personal vendetta. I like that. I like that feel like it was James Bond going on a personal vendetta. I think it made it a different known than the other Bond films, and it was definitely even though it had mixed reviews. I think it really is a good Bond film from that day. It's not the same really that during the 90s, the United Artists was moaning and whinging, MGM. I'm not going into all that, and that's the reason why Timothy Dalton didn't do the next Bond film, being Property of a Lady. That's what the next Bond film was going to be. I would have stayed in the role, and we would have also seen Timothy Dalton do what we were hoping to do, be 7 Bond films, like Roger Moore did. Sad to say it was not to be. But I still think it was a good Bond film. I meant to say. I still meant this was to say this was a good Bond film, and you can definitely see how Timothy Dalton was more faithful to the book version of James Bond, that being License to Kill. My other favourite from 1989 would be Lethal Weapon. Oh, that's right, the sequel to Lethal Weapon. Now, we all know in 1987 it was a massive film being Lethal Weapon. It was a big hit, it definitely saved a date fan size, and this was definitely one of them. It was the first time we got to have to look to see Joe Pesci. I like Joe Pesci, good actor, very funny as well. And I always look at this one being more of an action, a buddy cop, just like number one, but more of a comedy, a lot more action in it. Then it gets dark nearly at the end, where all Ritz and Danny Duffer as Murdoch's mates, his partners, all get killed by these drug dealing fucking self-right Africans. But I always like the scene where Danny Duffer pulls that gun out and the villain says, dictator immunity. And Danny Duffer as Murdoch goes, pow, shoots the fucker in the head. And he says that beautiful line, just been to fault. I do know originally that one of the producers wanted Ritz to get killed in fear that this wasn't going to be as successful as the first one. There is a version out there, I've seen it, where Ritz dies, he gets shot up a lot more, he dies in Murdoch's arms, and then it has a sad downbeat ending. I'm kind of happy. I'm happy that did not happen. It was not the case, and it had a happy, satisfying ending. Because in the early 90s, we got that. Late 90s, we got that. Not as good. TV series sucks ass. But Lethal Weapon 2 is a damn worthy sequel. My other favourite from 1989 would be, speaking of sequels, that would be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This is, to me, should have been the last of Indy's films. If they weren't going to bring him into the 90s, this should have been the last anyway. Because they left it too late in the day when they made this still. I couldn't be doing with the old man's fucking jokes. It was fucking getting as boring as the bald man's joke or the flipping man who's ate too much burger jokes. So this one, it was day. Harrison Ford was still in his heyday. And speaking of Bond, we got to see a Bond, meaning Sean Connery. And this is professor to see Sean Connery do a different type of role. Because a lot of people remember Sean Connery, you think straight away James Bond, straight away. But this was professor to see Sean Connery plays a role not as Bond, but as Indiana Jones' dad. I like Sean Connery in this. I think he's funny. I think he plays the role brilliant. He plays it to a T. Get his eccentric. And it's kind of sad, really, that Sean Connery is no longer with us. May he rest. I'd loved if they would have bought one in the 90s. Maybe round the road, bring Sean Connery back as Indy's dad. But sad to say, it's never to be. But it was still good to see it. I think it had a beautiful ending. The ride off in the sunset. Yes, it's not as dark as Raiders, where they open the Ark of the Covenant. You got the spirits flying about. You got the villain Toad and his face is melting. You got the villain Belloc and his head explodes and all that. Yes, it's not as dark as Temple of Doom, where you got magical rocks and an Indian guy pulling people's fucking hearts out. But at the time, George Lucas, because I've been George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, wanted this one to be a lot lighter. They got what they wanted, and I still think it's a good one of the adventure. It still has that adventure feel. And I've got to be honest. I cry. I cry. And the reason why I cry is because they don't make films like this anymore. They don't. And if you think about it, 1989 was a good hit there for films. You never saw fucking remakes being dug up from the fucking past. You never got them digging old fucking memory lane up. Hollywood had something they're lacking these days: imagination, shock. So yeah, 1989 was a damn good hit there for films. And not only that, it has a bit of history. If anyone knows Sky TV, you will know that Sky welcome to Sky TV. I'm doing the original theme tune and doing a bad job. Sky actually come out in 1989. That's when it first aired, and we got the luxury of having Sky TV. This was when Sky was worth a shit, and like nowadays, I think it's a piece of shit. You heard me have a rant from that once. So yeah, I actually like that. When you think about it also, 1989 was a big hit, bringing another sequel out, that being Back to the Future. I like Back to the Future 2 because Back to the Future 2, yeah, the soul's a bit from the beginning of what was in the end of the original classic 1985 one. Yes, you haven't got the original actors that played Michael J. Fox's girlfriend. You now got Elizabeth Shue. But I do think it was a good worthy sequel. I do know they weren't going to make it a sequel, nor a trilogy. The original Back to the Future was going to be a standalone film. It was, believe it or not, it was going to be a standalone movie. But I felt they made the right choice. It made a damn good trilogy. Like I say, in 1990, you had that one as well. But yeah, I like Back to the Future too. Yeah, it's futuristic. And a lot of people say it's copying Blade Runner with the flying cars. What film hasn't done that so far? And still has that humour, still has that time. I love the bit where they fuck around with time and then he's in the 50s again. They mess around with a hypocritical universe. You know, big word for me. So fuck it. I love that one. I mean, it was a good day for a lot of sequels. You know, you had Ghostbusters 2 Not as good as the first one, but it was good to see the task come back. It still had that comedy, that little horror feel to it. And other sequels, let me think. I'm down to think as I'm speaking and going along. We had loads of sequels. How can I forget it? How can I fucking forget? Don't be afraid. Be very, very, very afraid. That's right. The Fly 2. Like Father Like Son. I actually like this one a lot more than the first one. Shock and horror, but I do. I still like the original. I like Jeff Bridges. Brilliant performance. I like Gina Davis. So I repeat myself. My only issue with the Fly 2 is they kill off Gina Davis's character. It started pissing me off after all she went through in that one. I can kind of see why Gina Davis turned it down and you had a different actors. You know, they killed the character off after all the shit she went through. But I still like the film. I think it still has a good story to it. I like the fact that the son is following his father's footsteps, isn't trying to copy too much of number one. This is a remake, people. This is a remake, but it's done the right fucking way. I'm not swearing. It's done the right way. That's right. I do not like remakes today because when you think about it, the Fly 2 is technically a remake of The Fly The Return, what came out in 1959. People that don't know that. And I always felt that The Fly The Return, even though it's a revenge film, I felt it was still sort of a remake of the original. In this, it has its own identity. He's not gone into a pod fucking around. He's born with it and he's changing into a monster. It becomes a cheats and feats film. And they don't make films like that anymore. You know what else I miss about that film? The Fly 2. You know what else I miss? Practical effects. I know nowadays it sounds like a dirty word, but practical, special effects. How I miss them golden days of practical, special effects. But that's just a taste of big films of 1989. I'll probably talk a bit about more, get the words about Benzella, a bit more about 1989 and all the big films that come out in that golden day, and even a bit of history, like Sky TV come out in 1989. That's when we first got Sky. But into then, I'll try I'm doing now, but talk about other things on the way. But into then, be smart, be safe. Fuck it, where is it? See you later.